Right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This morning we'll be talking about we'll be comparing between CorelDRAW and Adobe Illustrator for the graphics guys, yeah. Or not just graphics, everybody. We all do design, the designing world. CorelDRAW, that is a vector graphic editor software developed and marketed by Corel Corporations. In 1817, Corel engineers Michael Bullion and Pat Sperry undertook to develop a vector-based illustration program to bundle with their desktop publishing system. CorelDRAW was initially released in 1989. What we mean by this is just like a vector software. When we have vector and there's raster, Photoshop is a raster for raster images, white CorelDRAW is for vectors, and Illustrator. Why Adobe Illustrator is also a vector graphic editor developed and marketed by Adobe Inc. Corporations. Originally designed for the Apple Macintosh, development of Adobe Illustration began in 1985. Okay, the meaning and significance of these two. Adobe Illustrator and CorelDRAW are the most sophisticated vector-based illustration software used for graphic designing. These softwares are developed to deliver fast results, meet the demands of designing professionals and graphic artists for business or home use. The Adobe Illustrator is used as a vector graphic editor for developing various types of things, such as designing logos, drawing map, illustrations, packaging, designs, etc. CorelDRAW is a drawing program for Corel mainly used to create various types of documents, ranging from visiting cards to big orders. And what are the differences between these two softwares? But there's a debate between the two, which one is better and which isn't. So, the Adobe Illustrator is owned and created by Adobe Systems in the year 1986. While CorelDRAW is owned and created by Corel Corporation in the year 1987. You see a difference. Learning curves. CorelDRAW software is user-friendly and has laser learning curves. That is, anybody can learn it. It's actually easy to learn CorelDRAW than Adobe Illustrator. While Illustrator is regarded as matured software involving steep learning curves. So that's why if you go to most all these designing, all these computer institutions, and they use CorelDRAW to teach you. They won't use Illustrator because CorelDRAW is easy to learn than Illustrator. And the CorelDRAW software can be learned even from tutorials, but one needs a proper training from a good graphic design institute for learning Illustrator. So Illustrator is kind of harder than the CorelDRAW. In functionality, in Illustrator, one can resize vector images without compromising the quality. The software is considered best for designing logos. Illustrator is actually under the Adobe group, and under Adobe we have an Illustrator, the Photoshop, InDesign, and many more. Illustrator is particularly for designing logos and all your vector works. While CorelDRAW is more like it has many, there's scroll paint in it, you can do bitmap in it, and and so many things. While CorelDRAW is widely used to create and print industry standard graphics, mainly employed for high quality printing. In the libraries in CorelDRAW and Illustrator, the libraries often plays a crucial role in determining the speed factor of a software. Availability of varied amounts of feature has a direct bearing on the performance of the software. So in this race, Adobe Illustrator wins over CorelDRAW. Illustrator has strong library as compared to CorelDRAW. For instance, Illustrator encompasses brushes, symbols, gradients, swatches, graphic style, patterns, etc., which is not present in CorelDRAW. Then the color preview. Every designer is concerned with the quality of final output of his work, rather than what appears on the screen. Therefore, color preview is a major area of concern for designers. So, color preview or print preview in CorelDRAW is not as good as Illustrator. Illustrator, being a PostScript file format, renders more accurate print preview and CorelDRAW. Compatibility and versions. The usability of a software entirely depends upon its compatibility with various operating systems and platforms. So in this context, Adobe Illustrator has the upper edge over CorelDRAW because CorelDRAW won't, as in some software, some versions won't work on Mac, only Windows. So all versions of Illustrator runs on PC and Mac, while same is not the case in CorelDRAW. Few versions of CorelDRAW only runs on Apple computers. And the latest version of Adobe Illustrator is named as CC 2019, while CorelDRAW latest is CorelDRAW Graphics Suite 2019. Then which is better? Which one is better? So having looked at the above differences, we cannot say that Illustrator is better or CorelDRAW is better. Both software encompasses unique features, and its usage depends entirely upon the individual requirements. Like for me, I use both. I use CorelDRAW, I use Illustrator. So it depends on what you want to work on. They are both good. Just depends on your creativity and how good you can make use of both softwares. However, Illustrator is considered best for making illustrations, while CorelDRAW is most appropriate for desktop publishing. But the industry standard is actually Illustrator. Illustrator is actually the industry standard everywhere in the world, not CorelDRAW. But I guess we are common with CorelDRAW here in Nigeria. According to recent market survey by ADMEC Multimedia Institute, approximately 75% of industry uses CorelDRAW software because of its smooth learning curves. It's easy to learn. I guess that's why they are using it more for teaching. Furthermore, the statistics is reflecting that finding employment in CorelDRAW is much easier than in Illustrator. Like I said, Illustrator is difficult to learn. It's not as easy as CorelDRAW. Or Illustrator is still the industry standard for designing. But my personal view, but being a graphic designer, my view differs. According to me, good knowledge and command of one software over the other doesn't make any difference. What matters is the creative thinking and sound understanding of designs in an individual designer. However, if an individual have good command over both Illustrator and CorelDRAW software, then it will definitely allow him or her to earn good remunerations package in the graphic industry, designing industry. Thank you. Questions? Okay.
So you said something about vector and raster image.
Yeah.
See that one gives really vector images and the other gives the raster image.
Both CorelDRAW and Illustrator are both vector images.
Vector.
Vector, therefore
Which
vector
one of
based
them uses resolution?
resolutions. CorelDRAW. With CorelDRAW, you can actually edit your raster image using you have to convert it to a bitmap image before you to edit it. But it's mainly for vector. They are both vector. But
So basically, if you convert it to bitmap, don't the resolution come?
that's just it. It depends on the quality of your image. That's why if you want to do with raster, it's best to use Photoshop. Photoshop is basically for questions.
Advice for those who don't know about.
And any advice? My advice is just that it's interesting. Just have to be creative. Learn it too. Don't learn one. It's advisable, is it? Sure, you can. It's advisable to learn it too because if you learn one, to be at a disadvantage because sometimes if you're not as if even if once you learn CorelDRAW, on YouTube, you have to watch tutorials, or you can still learn it on YouTube. Sure, you have to watch a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Any further questions? questions? All right. Thank you.
So this side, that artist. You see this?